Hello, alright, you're listening to the Gritty Bowman, home of gritty bow hunting films, interviews, tall tales, and a wee bit of manly boasting.
I'm South Cox, and you're listening to The Gritty Bowman.
This week on Gritty Bowman, we meet again with Aron Snyder of Kafaru International. Aron is the previous owner of Rockslide, which is an internet hotspot for all things related to DIY backcountry hunting. In this podcast, you'll hear Aron's strategies for taking care of his physical health, like how he eats in the backcountry and how he tries to sleep. You'll hear why these things are important, and perhaps you'll gain some valuable insight on how you can improve your own experience on your next backcountry hunt.
If you like the show, please go to our website at grittybowman.com and subscribe to this podcast and tell your mates and pals about us. Do us a favour and please take a moment to leave us a rating or a review on iTunes or on our YouTube channel. Send your questions and podcast ideas to grittybowman@gmail.com. If you're listening to this on iTunes, you can see the video version of this podcast on our website at www.grittybowman.com.
I'm Brian Call, and I'm your host. Aron Snyder is your co-host. Look out for future podcasts over the coming weeks with Aron Snyder for more discussions about backcountry hunting and living. Without further ado, here's today's podcast. We are back. The Gritty Bowmen are back. Aron's stuffing his face with some little Copenhagen.
It fixes everything.
Our last podcast was a bit glitchy, so hopefully this one we can.
Keanu Reeves got in there.
Yes.
Something happened. There was a glitch in the Matrix.
So I was going to tell you, Aron. So we had that podcast about shaving, right?
Yeah.
So this weekend I went out, and I was hiking the mountains, turkey hunting, right? So I had the opportunity to test your theory on some body parts that were hairy that are no longer hairy.
Yeah.
Amazing. I'm a believer now in the shaving. I gotta admit, dude, it's a little weird. You have it on you your whole life, and then when it's gone, it's like, whoa.
Well, dude, it makes it look bigger. That's a positive thing.
My wife was laughing her butt off. She listened to the podcast the day we posted it. She comes walking in the bedroom, and she is just laughing hysterically. And I had already, this is like the day before I was leaving. She's laughing. She's like, "You're not going to do that, are you?" I'm like, "Well, actually."
Well, I have a funny story about shaving myself. So you can delete it if you don't want people to hear it. So I'm at the, I'm in Oregon, right? Solo, just got divorced, bachelor. So I'm trying to be presentable when I go to the gym and not look like a redneck. So my buddy, he's at the house. I'm like, "Hey, dude, let's meet in the gym in an hour. I'm going to go shave my head and myself. So I'll meet you at the gym." So I get in there and cover the head, the chest, the lower region in shaving cream. And I hear the doorbell ring. And I'm like, that's got to be him screwing around. So I walk out naked with my hands over myself. And I have these huge bay windows. And it was Jehovah's Witnesses knocking at the door. So me being me, knowing who they are, I just stood there and went from one hand and then knocked open the door. I was like, "Can I help you?" Well, I look like Stay Puft the Marshmallow Man because I had the shaving cream everywhere. So that's a good shaving story. It's only one like that.
Wow.
It's a good visual.
A bold man.
Yeah.
All right. Well, for those that you've converted a few people on that. But yeah, the chafing and the smell significantly reduced. Very interesting. I wonder what the science is behind that. I just kind of blows my mind.
It's like Walmart. The world may never know.
All right. So that said, we are going to talk about food. I've had a few people question, about backpacking food, what you eat when you're out there. I imagine you're like Steve Ranella and you're popping squirrels and little rodents and you're eating them. Is that what happens?
No. No,
No.
I'll eat a squirrel, but no, I'm not eating mice. I can tell you that. I'm gonna have to be a hungry son of a gun to eat a mouse. Oh, that's funny. Well,
So
there's a reason why Steve is skinny, right?
absolutely, he is very skinny. He's a thin man. But so do you actually eat things along the way out there, or mostly do you pack in, or a little combo of both, or what?
It just depends on the trip. When I'm actually hunting, no, I'm not cranking marmots in the head and eating a marmot on the side of the hill. But I have eaten marmot many times. But like this weekend, we cooked a bunch of fish, and we will, or this last weekend and this weekend, we'll do the same thing. And we always eat backstrap, especially if we get an animal down and keep hunting. We'll put the meat either in a creek or, which is another thing as far as keeping the meat good in the backcountry. But we'll cook backstrap and eat off the meat until we pack it out. It's less you have to carry. But my daily normal food, it's pretty. I got it down to a science for me, and it's different for everyone. You definitely have to test the waters. Now, I used to be fat, and I just used to be bigger. And when I was bigger, I could get away with a lot less food. Now, I'll eat your leg off on the third day if I didn't bring enough food. I eat a lot, and my friends give me crap because my metabolism is so high that I have to. It makes me look like maybe a good parent in some eyes or a bad one in others. But I've got partial custody of my daughter. My daughter's the coolest daughter in the world. She didn't turn out like me at all. She's not a Peckerwood. She speaks 2 languages. So it's like a rite of passage for her and I every year. We make 70, 80, 90 days of food when she's here. She really likes to help. So we make all the food I'm about to talk about. One of the things that we make is I have a food saver. It vacuum packs your food.
Yes.
And I have a food saver, and she loves running that thing. Well, we're making peanut butter and almond butter, bacon and honey bagels, and you put that in the bag, and she goes over to the food saver, and it runs. Well, the bagel looks like a butthole when you're done, so she's like, Dad. So that's where the name butthole sandwich came from. If you Google that, believe it or not, it takes you to Rock Slide. So my mainstay for food is the butthole sandwich, which is bagel, almond butter, or peanut butter, bacon, and honey. And then I food saver it. I make 60 of them or more, and I throw them in the freezer. And so I'll have 1 or 2 of those a day, depending. Those are really high in calories. They're not overly healthy. I mean, bagels, it's enriched wheat and flour. That's not great, but it does stick to your stomach like a woolly mammoth, which gives you that full feeling. So I started making my own dinners, though. So like, a lot of guys have Mountain House, which is fine for a short period of time, but it has enough salt to kill a donkey. It has sodium, a lot of it.
Yes.
So what I started doing, and Patrick, the guy that owns Kafaro, he's the one that got me into this, is I get a crock pot. I throw a bunch of steak in there, olive oil, cilantro or veggies, a bunch of veggies. And then, you have everything where you can live off of what's in that. That's the only thing you could eat because you've got your fats, your protein, you've got your greens. I cook that, and then I have a food dehydrator, and I put the plastic trays on top so it's not dripping through.
Yeah.
And I dehydrate that, and then I put them in big Ziploc bags, and I throw them in the freezer. And then when I leave, if I'm leaving for 4 days, I take 4 cups or 8 ounces. I just take another Ziploc, and I'll just do 1, 2, 3, 4, and you just boil water, pour it in there, and then let it dehydrate itself and eat. And it's about 128, roughly 128 to 134 calories an ounce. The olive oil has a lot of high caloric value to it. So I do that for dinner, but you can also eat it like trail mix. I'll do angel hair pasta with elk burger, things like that. I'll take Idahoan potatoes, and I'll dehydrate burger with carrots with corn and peas, and make kind of a shepherd's pie. Those are my dinners, and it's a lot more cost effective. And then obviously the sandwich we just talked about. I make my own breakfast cereal. So I go and buy granola in bulk. I take sliced almonds, craisins, things like that, and mix it all up in the granola. But I take protein powder, and that's my milk. So I'll take a huge scoop of protein powder, throw it in there, food savor it, and then that's my milk. I get, roughly 18 to 30 grams of protein in that, and then obviously a ton of carbs and, protein in the almonds, but there's also the good fats in the almond, the sliced almond.
Yep.
And that's my breakfast. So
what kind of protein do you like to use?
I'm using the Mountain Ops protein now. I just like to use now, skinny guys should probably use a weight gainer protein like Muscle Milk, something with a ton of calories and fat and things like that. In my case, for whatever reason, that doesn't sit too well with my stomach. So I generally get straight protein with very little carbs and fat in it. It's just pure protein.
Straight whey.
Yeah, exactly. Straight whey. And then I'm not a dietitian to go into the whey and the casein or whatever all the different proteins are, but I use whey protein.
Yeah. It's pretty digestible by almost everyone. Whether it doesn't really have the lactose and all those other issues that people have.
Lactose is what I have a problem with.
Yeah. So, whey gives you that protein. It doesn't have, much with fats or anything, but it does have amino acids and things in there that are going to help repair tissue and all that kind of stuff. So,
another thing.
Often when you're out backpacking, a lot of backpack food really is lacking on the protein. So I actually do what you do, and I do bring a little whey with me every day. Because most backpacking foods out there are going to have a lot of carbs, really, mostly a lot of carbs, a lot of fat, low on the protein. Like they might have 10 grams in a Mountain House meal. Well, that's not enough, man.
No, and I take branched chain amino acids, and I take glutamine, and I put that in with the cereal. And so another thing, not going into great detail, those are great for recovery. I use the unflavored stuff, and I put that in there. Now, if I'm turning and burning and I'm really doing back-to-back hunts, there's a lot of chocolate chips going in that cereal.
Yes. Because
it tastes good. It makes me eat it. Because sometimes at 13,000 feet, you don't really want to eat that much. You lose your appetite. Now, I've got to now where the altitude doesn't bother me and I eat. But my goal, I'm sure, it seems like everybody in the world has read or heard in Cameron Hanes' book that he wrote. It's 100 calories an ounce. I try to stay above that, but 100 calories an ounce is a good benchmark when you're putting food in your pack. You can get higher than that. You can do 110 to 120 if you really look for your, if you really start reading labels and paying attention. So for what I have found is it is very subjective to the person of what they can eat, or what the amount they need. But the one thing I can say is everybody I know that spends multiple days in the field over and over and over, all of them eat a lot. Now, you'll meet guys that use their hunting as a diet, which is not a good idea,
Yeah.
But for me, I try to take in it used to be I could get away with 18 to 2,200 calories a day. I try and take in 3,500 calories a day now, which still isn't enough. I've worn a body bug and did the calcs. You'll burn 8,000 calories in a day pretty easily on a lot of hunts, especially if you're doing a couple stalks in a day. And so you're losing weight no matter what. The other thing that I think is really important is I take a multivitamin as well when I'm out there, which I think is huge. I take Emergen-C, which is electrolytes, because if you're just drinking straight water, and you can get, I think I call it water on the brain. You could overhydrate and flush everything out of your system so your synapses to your brain aren't firing. Again, I'm not a doctor. You want to stay hydrated. Water won't do it alone. It helps, but you need to flush. You need to get electrolytes back in your system. So I'd take powdered drink mix as well. Emergen-C tastes like shit. I pour the whole packet in my mouth and just shoot it. Because put it in the water, it's like drinking elk piss. It's horrible.
I love this stuff. I don't know. I like that raspberry Emergen-C. I think it tastes delicious.
Well, that makes one of us. But I just pour them in my mouth and shoot them.
Yeah, my wife thinks they're gross.
Oh, yeah?
I like them. I like them.
But I also get, like, Propel drink mix, Enduro from Mountain Ops. anything to get electrolytes back in your system. But as far as like food goes, I don't hunt on a full stomach in the morning. So it's not like I jam a 1,200 calorie granola breakfast down before I take off, because it's coming back up if I do that. I mean, if a big climb, I'll generally wake up, whatever kind of protein bar or something snacky I have just to take the edge off so I don't have hunger pains. I'll eat like one of those. We'll do our hunt in the morning, and then I'll take in immediately when we're done. I'll sit down and I'll eat that 1,200 calorie, whatever it is, breakfast, and take that down. Then the biggest thing I think what people make mistakes in, one, they don't eat enough, and two, they don't eat often. I try to eat, if I can, every 2.5 to 3 hours when I'm out there. One of the things I started doing when I don't bring a stove is I trade like salami and then like Gouda cheese, and I'll take ciabatta bread and honey mustard or whatever the case may be, and I'll just take sandwiches, and I won't bring a stove. And I can get by. You need some more veggies than I'm taking in for this, but I can get by with, the bagel sandwich, and then those sandwiches, I mean, alone by itself, and have enough of a caloric intake. Now, that can also, along with Mountain House, some people makes them go to the bathroom more, but you can get pretty plugged up if you're not careful, especially if you're not drinking enough water. So a lot of times I'll take fish oil pills with me, which is good for the joints, but it's also good for the digestive system. So is glutamine. It's also good for your bowel movements. That's all important, even though you don't think it is. There's nothing worse than being bunged up for, not being able to go to the bathroom. So I try to make that happen as well.
Yeah. I typically bring Mountain House, and I eat one every day. It's dinner. I haven't taken the time to dehydrate anything or prepare any meals, but I'm not out in the field as much as you have been. But I've been out in the field more and more the last couple of years, and so I'm starting to research other options. So cooking it all up in a crock pot and then dehydrating it, that sounds pretty like a pretty good deal, because
Go ahead.
Most of the Mountain House meals I don't like anyway.
Yeah, they suck.
They just aren't. They're just, and then they have all that sodium and other junk in there. But so I found myself, I bring 3,000 to 4,000 calories a day. So I guess the average 3,500 a day, and if I'm gone for 7 days, I have everything I'm going to eat each day in its own Ziploc bag.
Yep, I do the same thing.
Gallon bag. And then my goal is to eat that whole bag by the end of the day. Because, and like you said, you can get off hunting and into your day, and you can lose appetite, and you can go throughout your whole day and just not eat. And then you get home, get back to camp or set up camp wherever you're at, feel too tired to like heat up your Mountain House and actually eat it and just go to bed. But that I've found just catches up to me, kicks me in the butt. So for me, I load it all up in the gallon bag, and then I try to eat it by the end of the day, every day, all of it. And generally when I do that, and I usually achieve that, but I have to be eating throughout the day.
Yeah, you have to make yourself eat. Now on these short trips that I do, like 2 to 3 nighters, I just throw a bunch of stuff in a bag, and because I'm not really weight conscious, and I'll throw more food in than I need, or you know what I mean? I'm not that worried about it. Yep. But that's what my daughter and I do when she comes in the spring. We'll sit down, or excuse me, when she comes in the summer, because she usually comes, somewhere in late June, is we make those 1 gallon bags. We'll make 60 or 70 of them at one time, and I fill up a Rubbermaid container. And for the most part, sometimes I get hungry around the house, and I'll have to sneak some food out of those, and then I set them aside because there's food missing in them because I wanted to eat a Snickers bar or whatever the hell I put in there.
Yep.
But if I go for 4 days, even, if I leave it Thursday night, I count that as a day because it's just extra food for me and, emergency, and it also means I can stay an extra day if needed. But when you do, I don't think, well, for guys coming from back east that have never done a backpack hunt, or guys in the west that haven't, you can pretty much figure 7 days of food is 14 pounds at least, if not more. It also takes up a buttload of room. Food is and water are like the worst things for weight. And so I have done my best to not only food saver it to shrink down the size, but I don't really care what it looks like when it's going in me. So if it's all mangled, my sandwich, I don't really care. It gets the job done. I just need food. I put it in those Ziploc bags. I've got a compression sack that fits them perfectly, and I just flatten the crap out of them. Now, one thing I will do to prove a point, a lot of guys, not prove a point, but there's some guys have told me my pack's just not big enough. There's no room, and I can take a box of Snickers bars, 12 of them, and you just slide them in little places in the pack when they have it loaded to show them. You can fit a lot of food in very small places if you're paying attention as far as extra food. And I've done that before where I'm fully loaded and I'm like, yeah, I'll probably bring some extra, and I'll take protein bars of some sort or whatever and just start wedging them. And that's my backup food, kind of like that's my reserve.
I want to be eat as healthy as I can when I'm up there. So I try to stay as paleo as I can as well. So try to limit the grains, but still get the calories that I need. And that's tough to do, and also maintain a light load.
Yeah. And enriched wheat and flour is
it's amazing
for you. Well, it's bad.
But it stores so well, and it's got so many calories.
Well, give you an idea of enriched wheat and flour. When I was in the territories, we went over to the Keel camp, which nobody'd been in at least a year. And you know that bread that's 9-grain oat you get like it for us at King Soopers that looks healthy?
Yeah.
That shit was open for a year, and I ate a fish sandwich with it, and it was still good, and I didn't get sick. No mold or anything.
Yeah.
So anything...
Something not right there.
Well, I get made fun of for eating healthy, right? Like, a lot of guys give me crap, especially at Kafaru, because I don't go out and eat with them at lunch, but... Once you know how good you feel from not eating that stuff, it's a pretty good motivation to not continue eating it.
I eat Lara bars. I bring a bunch of those because they have, they don't have any gluten, any grains really. They're all
fat too.
Yeah, and I think the base of most of them is dates.
Mm-hmm.
So. I eat a lot of Lara bars. I bring cheese. I love cheese, and I bring dried meat of different kinds. I just like the taste. Now it's a little heavier than other options, but I just like having some.
Cool. Calorie-wise, though, dried meat, it's like I got some in the fridge for this weekend, and those mozzarella things that are wrapped up in wax. I'll take because those are the same circumference as the sausage. Another thing. Ramadan sandwich is what we call that because it's pork and bacon and sausage, as bad as that is, and cheese, and we'll make that on the ciabatta bread.
Yes.
But that thing's like 1,200 calories on some of the sandwiches. So you're not really. It may be heavy, but it's not heavy in a negative way because you're still getting that caloric intake from what I've ran the numbers on.
We'll bring the sausage. We'll bring jerky, dried meats. And then cheeses, lots of cheeses, because they keep pretty well. They, like the Babel cheeses, the wax-covered ones, or just string cheese, and Lara bars. And then I bring candy bars. I bring a bunch of Snickers, candy bars with nuts. I just crave the sugar and the chocolate. Sometimes I just need the.
And Paydays, I think it's Paydays, the ones with the nuts on them.
Mm-hmm.
That's not really any different than most protein bars. It's got protein in it and nuts, and they're good. And I do the same thing. Like, I'll eat some Snickers or whatever, but some of like that 87% dark chocolate, big, just flat, big, giant. We'll bring those because if it keeps you from wanting to come off the mountain. Now, with me, I don't need that as much, but food is a powerful thing. People get addicted to eating. And so if you're craving food constantly and dreaming about stuff and it drives you off the mountain, throw in some chocolate or whatever it takes to keep you going.
Absolutely. There have been some times where it's like, I don't want to eat another Mountain House rice and chicken meal. I've had like 5. I'm done,
Yeah.
So That's why I actually like to bring also like some cream cheese, tuna packets, you know, just different things that'll keep.
Well, and one thing I would say, if you make your own jerky, which is you can even do it in the oven, you don't need a dehydrator. That's pretty cost effective. One thing I've started doing, it's not the healthiest thing in the world, but I take Top Ramen and I take the sodium packets out and I make Mrs. Dash low sodium or sodium free of it, my own seasoning I've made.
Yep.
And then I take those extra virgin olive oil tuna packets, the single servings, and that olive oil bumps up the caloric intake of the tuna and it gives you fats. And I just cook a ramen and pour the tuna in there. It's not the best thing in the world, but for a guy on a budget, I mean,
Heck
it's
yeah.
high calories and it costs like $2.
Yeah.
The Idahoan potatoes, if you take those and then dehydrate, you can dehydrate elk burger in the oven if you have to, but if you season up some of your own burger and then you have Idahoan potatoes and then you just put that dehydrated burger in a Ziploc and then you cook up your Idahoans while you're boiling the water for it and just throw that burger in there, you basically have kind of shepherd's pie.
Yeah.
And it's cheapest. I mean, that's $1.50 or less for a dinner.
So, not being able to eat all these fresh veggies and stuff, you're not eating apples and pears and whatever with or broccoli, asparagus, these kind of high fiber foods. You're not getting those so much, and I don't know what dehydrating or freeze drying food does to it, but constipation is for real. I mean, that stuff just stops me up, can stop me up super quick, 3 days in, 4 days in. Used to be really bad. Now it's a lot better than it used to be. But I take fish oil as well. I try to take between 4 and 6 grams of fish oil every day when I'm up there. And then I bring calcium as well. I just my joints will start to ache after 4 or 5 days of just constant activity without getting some more calcium than what I'm getting from my food.
Yeah.
So that's what I bring, and I bring Emergency as well. And then I take those Metamucil cookie biscuits.
Yeah, I'll crap my pants eating those things.
Oh, not me, dude. They are the difference between not crapping for 3 days or being regular.
Crap out a baby's arm.
I basically eat as soon as I finish my Mountain House, I chase it with Metamucil cookie every time. And as long as I chase it with the cookie, I'm right as rain. I'm good all the time.
Yeah. I think my body's just gotten used to it to a certain degree. Maybe. I don't know. But I mean, the dehydrated food I make has a pretty high olive oil content. And that'll make you get through a window screen if you're not careful. So that helps a lot. Plus, there's a lot of veggies in what I dehydrate. Freeze dry takes a lot more of the nutrients out of it than dehydrating does. So, having said all of that, bringing some fish oil pills, I don't think it's a horrible idea.
Yeah.
The other thing, too, is I pound 150 ounces of water a day at a minimum. I drink water all the time, every time.
Me too.
And I think that's a huge part of it, too, obviously. Not just for... I don't think people realize like 65, 70% of your body is water. Like your muscles are 65% water, your bones are 15. So the best energy drink you can get is water. I've been on big climbs where I'm dehydrated, where I'm like, what is wrong with me? The lactic acid buildup in my legs, my muscles. Well, dehydration and food deprivation is a problem. And I don't think people realize that. And in my case, back to back backpack hunts, you can do one and get away with anything. Because I've had guys tell me, like, call me on the floor on, I'm taking too much food or whatever, but it's like, or I'm not taking enough. You can get away for 7 days with almost anything, because by day 5, you're probably going to be running low, but you don't really notice it by the time you walk out. But you do 7 days and you come back for 1 and 7 again and do it over, your body's going to burn out, and eventually you won't hardly be able to go up the mountain. anybody that's experienced, especially in the military, sleep deprivation, along with water deprivation and then food deprivation, you'll hallucinate, you'll get emotional, like crabby, like you see those guys that just turn into straight dicks on the side of a mountain. That's lack of sleep and probably food. I mean, that's just how life is. Now, some people are just happy all the time and can get around it, but I don't want to be to a point where I have to make myself happy, so I eat like a horse all the time. I just eat as much as I can.
Yeah. Well, I think that's same with I'm with you on the water as well. I drink a ton of it the whole time I'm out there. It has everything to do with performance, especially day after day. Like what you can get away with in 2 or 3 days will catch up to you in a 7 or 10 day period. And that's the difference between success when you're shooting a big trophy, a big bull elk on the last day, or for you just getting some meat for your freezer, but it happens on the last day of your hunt. You don't have that last day of the hunt if you quit 4 days early.
Yeah, and I think where I've really noticed it is, which guys that have hunted me will tell you, the one thing I have going for me is longevity. I'm as good on day 1 as I am on day 10. I don't slow down. And so guys on day 10 where I'm like looking at the top of a mountain where I've seen an elk, I'll just hike up there and it's not a problem. Where if you're just beat to hell in a handbasket, you're probably not going to go. And yeah, I think sleep, water, and food, those three things combined, you need to have all of them.
So for me, sleep is huge. So on that note, not to get off too far on this tangent, but since we're talking about health in the wilderness, and sleep is such a big deal, how do you sleep? Because a lot of times you get out there and you're on your pad, you're in your sleeping bag. I mean, your pill. What have you found has helped you actually fall asleep and stay asleep and get a good night's rest?
Well, I don't sleep, which hardly now anyway. So I actually sleep a little bit better out there, maybe from burning it up. I don't know that this is the healthiest thing, but I pop 2 Advil PMs before I go to bed, and I sleep like a baby. Sometimes I just take 1. I also will take melatonin, and I try to use melatonin more than anything. And not to say it again, I'm not a doctor, but melatonin is chemically produced in the brain. It's when your eyes closed. I think it's what the brain produces to put you in REM sleep.
Yes.
Did I explain that right?
No, I already know that I'm a genius.
I think that's right. Yeah. If it's not right, if I say it confident enough,
no, you're right. No, like my thing on sleep is, so I take a little bit of melatonin every night when I'm in the wilderness, a little more, maybe I forget what the dose is.
Probably 5 milligrams is what it is.
Don't take 5 milligrams. I don't.
I have to.
They sell them. So here's the deal. So I've done a lot of reading on sleep.
Yeah.
I still haven't figured out how to master it in the wilderness, because when I'm in my Tempur-Pedic upstairs in my bed next to my wife, I sleep like 10 hours, no problem. In my tent, I'm, it's just not as comfortable. I'm sleeping 6-7 hours, but I'm not able to sleep as long. So, but when it comes to sleep, the problem with Advil PM is that stuff, it knocks you out. So there's a great podcast on this that the Barbell Shrug guys did with the I forget his name, sleep expert guy who was a Navy SEAL. Mm-hmm. And then he talked about how Navy SEALs
yeah, they're the last to talk because they take Ambient and then they take Fedra.
Totally.
Yeah.
And they don't sleep. And he talks about how their testosterone levels drop and how they get hit hard with this lack of sleep over time. And really what happens is they get their testosterone tested and it's in the toilet. And, a 25-year-old guy has the testosterone level of a 75-year-old man, and then those hormones being out of whack, those catch up to you over time as well. And the problem with things like Advil PM or Excedrin or PM or Ambien and so forth is they actually sleep. To make sleep effective, it's got to be restorative. So your brain has to function to restore Your brain goes to work while you're sleeping to restore muscle tissue, to restore brain function, memory, and all that kind of stuff. When you take Ambien and other types of drugs, they actually just knock you out. So you do fall asleep. You are out, but you're out like you got punched in a UFC ring. You're unconscious. The brain just goes unconscious as well. So you lay there all night, and some restorative functions take place, but not at the level that happens if you just go with melatonin. The problem with melatonin is it is a hormone. And so your body's real smart. You start pumping it with a hormone, and it says, I don't need to take it anymore. I'm getting it somewhere. And it stops creating that hormone for you. So you know that, like with steroids, it's the same thing. You start taking a steroid, your body's like, we don't need to make it anymore. We're getting it somewhere. And pretty soon your body can't produce that steroid on its own if you do that too long and too hard.
Yeah.
And the same is true with melatonin. So if you're going to take melatonin, especially if you're really jacked up, right? Like you don't get a lot of good sleep already.
Yeah.
Well, then, take a higher dose melatonin. But eventually you want to wean yourself back off of that so that when you do take it, you've got a smaller dose and your body's actually creating that melatonin naturally inside you.
The guy that I talked to about it, he said pretty much what you said, almost identical. What he did tell me, though, is since I only take it when I'm backpacking, you've got about a 2-week cycle before it takes effect. You know what I mean? Where it really starts.
He's right.
Yeah, and so for me, you
don't mess around.
I take it then, and then I come home and I don't take it.
Yep.
Now, if I needed it here, the good thing about here is even though I'm wound up like an 8-day clock and I don't sleep much, I can take a nap. So, like, I'll come home and try and get some sleep because, like, when you're bodybuilding or powerlifting, recovery is huge, which is sleep.
Right.
And, is a big part of it. So I would just sleep whenever I could, even in the truck, at lunch, at work, or whatever. I would just sleep.
Which is, I think, way underrated. I think that does huge restorative. Taking a nap, even if it's 20 minutes, I think greatly benefits your health.
Yeah, and even it benefits your psyche. I mean,
it's a lot better than trying to take some kind of supplement to try to. You can't out exercise lack of sleep or out eat lack of sleep. Sleep is just, you got to have it.
Yeah, and I've got something wrong with me. They broke the mold because at a level where doctors can't fathom what the hell's wrong with me, I can go forever on 4 hours of sleep. I mean, I think Patton, somebody else, they wrote a book on it. He talked about it. He only slept 4 hours. But going through what I did in the military, at 4 hours of sleep for a long period of time, you start to lose the ability to do complex tasks under pressure, like even mathematics, which I found is true.
Yeah,
now,
they say that it's. I think his stat was, at 6 hours of sleep, there's like a 30% decrease in testosterone. Even just one night of getting 8 hours instead of 6, or I don't remember what the numbers were. You have a huge leap in testosterone just in one night. So a nap will give you more testosterone than some T-booster supplement you're getting. I mean, that's how impactful sleep is.
And I don't sleep more than 4 or 5 a night. So
that's crazy.
I've got problems. And I'm fully admitting, but I try. I'll run myself down. I've tried not doing anything. Like, I'm doing Red Rocks after this and just hopes that I sleep more. Like, if I sleep till 5 in the morning, I'm doing really good. Like, my wife, I have to have a headlamp beside the bed so I don't wake her up.
Yeah.
I have my gym clothes ready and everything. So I get up at 3:30. I go to the gym till 4:30 usually. Get to Kafaru 5:30, whatever the case is. I'll work from Kafaru until, if I make it till noon there, I'm doing pretty good because with everything that's going on, I get more done at home. I'll come home and I'll try and take like an hour nap if I can. And sometimes I'll crash, sometimes I won't. It just depends. Now, some of my buddies will say, oh, it's from the energy drinks, oh, it's from this, and it could be, but in the morning I'll take a pre-workout. I pay real close attention to my caffeine intake because I get migraines. I take 150 milligrams of caffeine in the morning, which is like a cup of coffee, basically, give or take. And then I try not to take anything again. Now, in hopes tonight, I'm going to run myself to death at Red Rocks, without caffeine, no pre-workout, in hopes that when I get home, I can watch Blacklist, Grimm, or Shield with the wife for an hour and pass out in a coma-like sleep. The thing is if I go to bed at 9, I'm getting up at 3, if not earlier.
Right.
The best, because that's 6 hours. I mean, and 6 hours is like a good night's sleep for me.
You military and law enforcement guys really suffer from this. Like Anthony's been in law enforcement most of his whole life, and he's had a lot of trouble with sleep. So I've spent a lot of time researching it, and we've talked about it a lot. And you guys just, I mean, and I think genetically there are people more adapted to it. There are some people, for instance, if they got into special forces, they'd wash out because they don't have the capability of functioning well at low levels of sleep.
I've seen it firsthand.
It's not like the guy isn't tough or he's not smart or capable. It's just genetically he just needs more sleep. But I do think that often, it's as you get older, you've got to find a way to get that sleep, or it's going to take its toll.
I'm starting to worry about it now because I'm almost 40, so I'm really like.
Well, and what happens is just in the society and the world we live in today, you get high levels of cortisol in your system, and that cortisol or stress hormone, it keeps you awake. And these military guys, okay, they're getting shot at, and they have all these other stressful things being thrown at them constantly, and so they have these high levels of cortisol in their system. Then cortisol is just a stress hormone, so if you're stressed out from other things going on, like you're busy, you've got 10 meetings a day, or you've got something big coming up, all that stuff just causes more and more and more and more cortisol to be produced, and you don't ramp up. You don't get that out of your system or wind down. Naturally, the cortisol should be inversely related to your melatonin production. So as your cortisol starts to drop out of your system, melatonin is rising. So at night, you're sleepy and you go to sleep. And in the morning, you have high levels of cortisol to wake you up, and your melatonin's gone. Well, what happens with these guys that are intense, kind of like you, those are reversed. They wake up in the morning and they feel like dog crap, but they're still waking up. And then they're walking out through the day and they're not feeling so hot. And then at the end of the night, they're completely wired and they have a hard time going to sleep.
I feel good in the morning is kind of the weird thing.
Do you?
Yeah, I don't. Believe me, if you hunt with me, I'm overly motivational to a point it pisses off guys like you that sleep a lot. Like,
oh yeah.
They love the fact that I don't sleep because I get the stove going at 3 in the morning.
You sound exactly like Anthony.
Yeah, I mean, it's pissed my hunting partners off before and I can't shut up, right? I could talk Bin Laden out of hiding, like, and it doesn't slow down, and so I get up at 3 or 4, and I'll just lay there because I don't want to wake anybody up. Or if we're in a teepee, I'll start the stove. But like, for me, if I can get up and I always do this when I'm backpacking, and I think one of the reasons I sleep better on the ground is because there's no stress. I'm away from Kafaru. In the territories on a cot with grizzlies running around, dude, I was sleeping 8 hours a night, feeling great, no migraines, but I had no stress. Like, a bear eating me is not stress. Like, that is a slim chance of it happening. A helicopter going down, not going to probably happen. The biggest thing I had to worry about is, don't forget the fuel for the chainsaw, or, hey, make sure and bring whatever for the client, or whatever the case may be, charge my batteries. But like, I'll get up in the morning, like this last weekend, I got up at 2:30. I looked out, I'm like, okay, there's not enough stars to do night shots. Started the stove, and I'm like, if I sit here long enough, I'll get some more sleep. And I did. I slept for another 2 hours finally. So I'm cognizant that I need to sleep more, and I do my best to do that. Now, once it was game time, I mixed my drink up to wake up in the morning and hit it. But in the middle of the day, like with backpack hunting, if I can sleep, I'm going to take a nap because it's recovery.
So do you think your sleep habits are a lot better than when you're out backpacking and in the wilderness than they are on your day-to-day life at home in the
Yeah,
city?
without a doubt. Yeah, I mean, to a point, my friends make fun of me because Thermarest little skinny pad and a bivy, I'm golden. I don't have any problem. And it's not like the Billy Badass. I got a rock for a pillow and I'm this tough.
Yeah.
I think it's stress and I'm happy. So when I'm in the woods, even in rainstorms or whatever, no lightning, or I just go to bed. I don't have an issue with that. But I don't think it's because I'm necessarily more at home in the woods. It's definitely because I am home, but I'm at, not to sound like a homo, but I'm at peace with myself. Like I am happy I'm out there and I have no stress at all. And that helps, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's huge. Eliminating stress, I think, is a major part of just being a happy, healthy person. And that doesn't happen enough. So getting out in the wilderness, when I was talking to South Cox, when we were visiting him, he was saying the same thing, that just getting out in the wilderness is just, and hunting mule deer up in high alpine places, that's his like restoration. He comes back a better person, a better dad, better husband. You know, he's like, this just gives me, it restores me. And I agree, you know, getting out there and doing that, you're at more peace. So still, I got to figure out how to sleep better in there. I mean, I got a fancy new pillow I'm trying out. I've got,
which one is it? What'd you get?
I got a, and I'm not sure it was a good purchase. I got a Sea to Summit air pillow.
Is it soft on one side and then kind of soft on the other?
The whole thing is like in a soft cloth.
Yeah, I've got one of those.
And then you just blow it up in like 2 breaths, and you've
Yep.
got this pillow.
So what I do, which is, now I'm in a bivvy a lot, is I wedge everything I possibly can in the hood, and I put my pack there because I like to sleep with my head up, and I make this big ass cocoon around my head, and that I'll sleep like a rock. If my head position isn't correct, I'd pack a pillow if I had room. For me, it's all about head positioning. So I slightly downhill my feet. I take my pack so my pillow can't slide out. Now with you can tell I helped design our sleeping bag, the slick bag, because there's portions on the bottom of it to tie your pillow in, so it can't slide out. So I take all it and make this huge cocoon. My wife has more pillows than American Furniture Warehouse. There's like 70 pillows in there, and she's got those like $100 pillows that you get from the massage therapist that are like down or they're really squishy. I simulate that as best as I can with clothing and everything else, and that helps me sleep better. And I have a system down, whether I'm in a bivvy or a tarp or a tent or whatever. I have contacts, so I've got my wet wipes, I've got my eye drops, my contact solution, my headlamp, and a beanie hat, and then, of course, Copenhagen, all right beside me. So I have a system if needed. A lot of times I'll sleep in my contacts when I'm backpack hunting. I'll put a couple drops in the morning to get those things hydrated. And then, as bad as this is, I'll put a chew in because that's just how I am and what I do. But I have to wipe off the fingers. If I put a chew in and I forget and then put my contacts in, I'm really awake. So I have the wet wipes there to wipe my hands off and then put my contacts in. So there's kind of a system. And for me, the sleep is, I try to do the same thing each night for my sleep when I'm out there, as far as building the cocoon, setting everything beside, getting the headlamp ready. But I have had the best sleeps of my life in a bivvy, in a sleep tent backpacking situation.
Well, I'm going to try the pillow out because that's my theory too, is head position is a really big deal, and I've sort of completely neglected that. Often just stuffing some clothes inside my sleeping bag as a pillow, and then it just falls apart, or in a stuff sack and then laying on it. It just hasn't been very comfortable.
I think part of that, and nothing against Cameron Haynes' book, but you don't learn a lot about, and all you Cameron Haynes leg humpers, don't get mad at me. That is a motivational book, not an informational book. You're not going to learn. What you learn in that is Cameron is harder than woodpecker lips. He is a tough guy. What you don't learn is what we're talking about. You don't learn a lot of there's not a lot of informational stuff in that. It's not a bad book. It's super motivational, and it got hundreds and thousands of people into backpack hunting.
Yeah.
But Cameron can use a rock as a pillow.
Yeah.
Great, more power to him. I don't want a rock for a pillow. I want a big cocoon because I want to sleep more. So
Yeah. I'm going to try that.
yeah, I do. I take my pack and I put it directly behind my head, and I just wad a ton of shit around it.
Well, see, if I am ultra light, then I can just stuff some clothes into one of my stuff sacks, and then I don't even have to pack a pillow.
Yeah.
It didn't work. It just isn't comfortable. And now with my new fancy pillow, I am sleeping way better. I only used it one weekend, but
You know that big mega pullout I had?
yep.
I will say a puffy jacket in that with everything else is a great pillow. I mean, it's
Pretty good.
I have to build a damn ramp for my head.
Yeah.
I don't have a neck, so it's not like my head reaches the ground when I'm sleeping, so that's what the ramp is for. But I think a lot of things people forget. If you're sticky when you go to bed, that'll help you not sleep.
Yeah.
So a liner can help, or just cleaning yourself off. You want to take your socks off if you can to dry out your feet, make them a little bit tougher. But for me, a lot of times I'll have that ice axe. I'm doing some excavation to get my bed perfect for sleeping or whatever. Or I'll sleep in, the pine cones, the soft one
Yep,
where I'll
yep.
I'll
All the
sleep.
pine needles.
Yeah, I sleep in that all day long. I'll build this huge, squishy, soft bed because I do want sleep if I can. Now, don't get me wrong. We've slept on top of rocks or whatever. That's why I have that big pad. But if I can build like a happy home, I'm
You
going to
do
build
it.
a happy home. Yeah.
That's cool.
What are you thinking? I see you got a smirk.
No, I'm just trying. I'm trying to think of how I can use this sleeping bag a little better. So on that note, when you say liner, I do. So last year, I got dumped on and I was wet from head to toe. Long story short, my dad was about I don't know, about a 30-minute hike straight up a steep incline, and he's up there glassing from this point while we're down in this canyon bottom. Well, I was a little worried about him because before we go to bed, we check in. So I'm radioing him, and he's not answering. Well, the storm is coming in, and it's just raging, and now it's dumping, and there's lightning everywhere, and you can't see 5 feet in front of you. There's so much fog, and it's just a horrible mountain storm, right? And the lightning's just going off. So he's up on this ridge, and I'm like, trying to radio him, and I'm not getting a response. So I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to go look for him, So I grab my gear and my lights and my radio and stuff, and the other guys I was with, they're back in the tent, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to go up there and see, maybe his radio just died, I'm going to go up there, I'm going to find him. So I climb up this hill in the pouring rain, and I didn't have all the gear with me that I would normally have because I'm just going out to find him. Well, I get up there to the top, and it's just coming down, and by the time I find him, which he had sprained his ankle and he was pretty far down the hill, but he was getting himself back up to where the tent was. He got a little bit lost for a while and then kind of found his way back. Well, I find him. We get back to his tent, and he's got this tiny, really one-man tent, but I'm not hiking back now in the rain. So I just we got an extra sleeping bag in there. So I'm drenched. I'm soaking wet. So I strip everything off, and now I'm wet, and I climb into the bag, and I'm wet in the bag. There's nothing to dry off with, And so I climb in the bag. It was actually I just used the bag on top of me, and and then I had a pad that I slept on without climbing into the bag. But I kind of wondered, in those circumstances, would like you said, when you're sticky or wet, would it be, what kind of sleeping bag liner? I heard some guys the other day say they use some kind of liner in their bag, and it was night and day. Like, they'll always use a liner from now on because it just feels so good. So what's your take on that?
I don't use one personally, but I suggest for people to try one. Go to REI because they have Return Everything Incorporated. Grab one, try it out. If it sucks, bring it back. It does if the texture of a sleeping bag bothers you, especially if your legs are gritty or whatever else. You can get silk ones. You can get the other one that's Cool Max. If you're sensitive to sleeping in the woods anyway, get one and try it out. It also probably bumps up maybe 3-5 degrees or something, the temp rating of your bag. For me, there's a couple things to think about in this situation you're in. One, is your bag going to go flat because everything's soaking wet? That's why we talked about the zombies coming. I use a synthetic bag a lot now because I'll put all my wet clothes in there with me, or the important ones, and they'll dry out overnight, which is important. The other thing I'll do is I'll take those soaking wet clothes and I'll wash myself off with those clothes so my legs don't feel sticky. And I mean, literally, if I've got a shirt that's just soaking wet, I'll rinse my legs off and my body with that, hang it outside to get it wet, or wring it out and wash myself some more. So I'm getting in the bag with a simulated cleaner feeling. That liner takes away that gritty feeling to the outside of the bag, or the inside, outside, however you want to look at it, the sleeping bag, and it helps a lot of guys.
Yeah. I can't sleep if I'm dirty, and I basically I bathe almost every day when I'm up there. I find a creek if we've got it. If we don't have a creek, then I am using wipes, some kind of body wipes. But for the most part, if I just have a little trickle, I'll get in there buck naked and wash up and just rinse off. And I just usually almost everywhere we hunt, you can get in waist deep to something. And so
you don't get quite that luxury up high for mule deer here. You might on each other, yeah, in Colorado, but you can usually find something. And this is where I talk, getting off the subject, but having the physical ability, if you're up on top and you can see a lake or a creek, and maybe you don't necessarily need to go down there, but to drop down there for a day, to wash off, to clean yourself, because I can sleep in my clothes every day, and I've built up a pretty good immunity. Not saying I sleep as well, but I'm desensitized, I can do that. But I have the physical ability to be like, let's go swimming in the lake, because you will feel better, even if you can tough it out the other way. To hike down to a lake, everybody jump in, wring out all your clothes, wash them, hang them up if the weather's nice. That's a good mental reboost. I mean,
I think guys, there are some guys who really underestimate that. For me, talking my buddies into jumping in a creek when it's like 35 degrees outside, they look at me like I have two heads. And so I get in, I bathe, and I'm frozen like a popsicle, but I pop out. I've got a little stove or a fire going. I warm up real quick, and I throw my clothes on, and I feel like I could stay another week in the wilderness.
Yeah, and I mean, my friends are used to me now, but we get to a creek, and it's a hard day, especially if the weather's not necessarily 70, but 60, 55, even 50. I'll just get buck naked and lay in a creek this tall and just let the water roll over me. Now, don't get me wrong, the first 30 seconds are a little rough, but once you get used to it, and I lose feeling of my fingers and my feet really fast, but we've jumped into a couple lakes. In fact, James jumped into one that even I was a little nervous on because it took his breath away.
Yeah.
So I kind of watched, and I'm like, because I was just going to kind of rinse. Man, I dove in there, and when I got out, I was a brand new man. I went and made a mountain house while I warmed, got feeling back in all of my body. I mean, there's snow floating around and shit in the lake. It was cold. That's a big, big thing that people overlook because obviously it is painful at first. But staying clean, brushing your teeth as much as you can. I mean, you don't want to look like a hippo when it yawns, right? You want to keep good dental hygiene. So brushing your teeth, keeping everything
clean.
Not contaminated, clean. Not only will you not get rashes in your armpit and your butt crack, but it also just in general makes you feel better. So
yeah,
I'm not quite at the level of some guys where they'll, no matter what, search hell and high water every day for a stream. But in the middle of the day, for me, if I run into a creek, you're probably going to see me stripping down into my Fruit of the Looms, and I'm going to clean myself off really well because it's the middle of the day. You don't have anything else to do anyway.
Yeah, I agree. And I think if it is really cold, you can do things to work around it, like get a mountain house meal all done up, so it's sitting there. It's still hot. You got to let it sit there for 15 minutes, until it's ready to eat. Hopping out of the cold stream, and even if you have a fire or something going too, or just your cook stove, if you can get up, dry off, get around something that gets, and then eat a hot meal real quick, you can, minimize how long you're cold. And it just feels amazing. It's just...
If you're buddy team hunting, one of the things I'll do is say, hey, I'm going to go get cleaned off. I'll have my buddy heat up my mountain house, and I'll have him put it in the bottom of my sleeping bag so it warms up my bag too.
Yeah.
And then get in my bag and just eat out of my bag. And, dude, I get so much pleasure in backpack hunting and doing this that, I mean, for me, the worse it gets, the better story it's going to be and the better adventure it is. So
Right.
For me, minus guys getting injured, the shittier it is, I'm home. And that's not me bragging or anything. It's just, I really like when it's really, really a tough hunt. And using common sense at those times, like putting a mountain house in the bottom of your bag, nobody ever thinks of that. My feet get cold, so your bag's already warmed up. Or I'll take Emergency and like Enduro from Mountain Ops, and I'll make it into like a tea, like a drink mix. I'll warm it up. Getting warm stuff in your body it's a big deal. I mean, it helps. So for me, it's not the challenge of who can go with the lightest stuff and suffer the most. You're already probably suffering. Who can last the longest is a lot cooler challenge. Like, that's much funner.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, Aaron. Well, let's wrap this one up. I think we kind of hit all the topics on the food and stuff, and added in some sleep and
I would just say take in the most calories you can, test what you need to eat, stay clean, take multivitamins, fish oil, things like that, and definitely don't.
Those Metamucil cookies are money.
There you go. For you, those of you who can't poo correctly, take Metamucil cookies, and then don't make it a challenge of who can get away with the least amount of stuff. Think of it as who can get away staying the longest, because that's really in the end the biggest challenge out there is who can stay.
Well, and it really, I mean, for me, makes it a much more enjoyable experience. I can tough it out, but man, it's one thing to tough it out with blisters on your heels, and to tough it out without blisters on your heels. I mean, there's a lot you can do to survive longer out there. So, All right, man. Well, this was cool. I'm going to be gone for a couple of weeks, but when I get back, let's hit some more of these topics we have in mind, and wish me luck, man.
Yeah, no, definitely. Good luck. I'll be interested to see how it goes, especially with the raining portion. I'll be seeing if I'm sending you a stove and a teepee when you get back next month.
I might be coming back with no cameras, but we'll see. We'll see. I mean, last time that I went was a few years ago, and my GPS was the only electronic device that didn't break. My phone was ruined. And I did cross the stream, but I didn't submerge any of it. But it just got, the humidity and the rain was just relentless. I have some video from the hunt that you have to see the video to see how much rain it was. It was just a downpour for like 4 days solid, just dumping. It was flooding everything. Everything was flooding. The river swelled up to like 15 feet across when it was just a little 1 foot stream when we entered. So, but hopefully this year that does not happen, because I have far, far more expensive gear than I did then.
Oh, that's well. Good luck on getting an animal, and then good luck on not ruining all your shit.
Yeah.
All right. Well, cool, man. Take it easy.
You too. Bye, Aaron. Okay, one last thing, folks. Don't forget to check out the show notes on the website. Thanks, and stay gritty.